Absolutely. My name is Michael Hammond. I'm the Chief Financial Officer at the Office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions.
Thank you very much. Before we get started, I just say I much prefer, I'm sure it's probably annoying for all of you to show up here in person, but it's actually really nice to see people instead of online, so thank you for coming in person. Appreciate that. So as I understand, OSFI is receiving kind of an increased maximum amount that they can be advanced as part of the budget. Can you?
That's correct. I can elaborate a little bit
Please.
on that for you. So OSFI's funding is obtained through the financial institutions and that we regulate, and we bill them on an annual basis in July-August timeframe following our final financial results for the fiscal year. What this provision does is it allows us to have access to the CRF before we have done that invoicing in order to fund our operations in the early part of the year. Once we receive the funding from the financial institutions, that money is then reimbursed into the CRF.
So it's kind of like a revolving credit facility, right? Okay. And obviously, the fund requirements or the funding requirements of the organization they're either bumping up to the 40 million or you need to expand it, right? Okay.
That's correct.
Very interested in what's happening at OSFI in terms of the growth of the organization. It's my understanding that the organization has actually grown substantially over the last 5 years. Is that fair point?
Yes, the organization has gone through a period of growth to address the risk environment that OSFI is responsible for.
Okay. I don't expect you to have the specific numbers for me now, but if you wouldn't mind, I would appreciate an ability to see maybe, doesn't have to be every year, but say 5 years ago, what the organization looked like from an organizational structure in terms of not just the gross number, but where these individuals work. And today, is that, by organization, is that something that you could provide to the committee?
Yes, I'd be happy to take that back and provide that back in writing.
Okay, no,
we can provide you with a trend in terms of budget over the last 5 to 6 years, if that's helpful.
That's very, very helpful. And since you mentioned about addressing the risk environment, I think it would be also helpful to understand like where these individuals, like what divisions they work in, as an example, if that's something we can do.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much. Are you involved with, or are you aware of the Basel, the new Basel rules, or is that maybe outside of your purview?
That's a little bit outside of my purview. Thank you for the question. As the CFO, I'm more responsible for the internal operations.
Okay, fair
happy
enough.
to take questions back and provide a response in writing.
Well, look, you could tell some of your colleagues that they should maybe pay attention to what's happening in the United States, because the U.S. Fed, who's in charge of the regulatory equivalent body there, is delaying and will make material changes to the implementation of Basel for the sole purpose that they're worried that banks will restrict lending. And we've seen banks very recently actually identify how much lending they believe, how much less lending they will do because Basel is introduced. So don't expect you to engage on that, but if you could bring that back to them, that'd be great, because we haven't had anyone from OSFI here other than yourself in the last year. So that would be very helpful.
Thank you very much. I will take that back. And I know that the superintendent is very interested in coming to appear at FINA and is very happy to come when he's invited.
Well, we look forward to having him when he's able. Thank you. Ms. Guire, I guess because you're in tax, you're there, so I might as well stay with you. Actually, this was a very good question from the library. The document they provided was excellent. How has the government ensured the potentially partisan nature of Canadian journalism, that Canadian journalism organizations does not impact the eligibility of the Canadian journalism tax credit? Like, is there any kind of test that's being considered for that? Oh, Mr. Baylor.
Yes, I can take that one. Yeah, the key. Excuse me, I'm just looking for my notes here. The key test, really, and as you may be aware, as part of the eligibility criteria, here we go. To access the credit, there's an advisory board that looks at the eligibility for the tax measures. So the advisory board's mandate is to provide an independent assessment and make a written recommendation.
Okay. I'm going to run out of time, so just very quickly, I apologize. Who appoints the advisory board?
So I believe the advisory board,
I think they're governing council appointees, right?
that
Okay,
is, I'd have to confirm that, but that's.
So my understanding is, so cabinet will decide who decides whether a journalistic organization is partisan. And cabinet, as I understand, is made up of a bunch of elected people who are partisan. But I think I've exhausted my time, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much. Mr. Hammond, thank you for your answers.